Srinivasa Farms was started by my father on Dashera Day in 1965 with about 1500 chicks in Uppal as a poultry farm. And later on, he, in association with Dr. B.V. Rao, started Venkateshwara in about 70. And through that, they've built the Indian poultry industry. Together, they worked very hard till 96 when Dr. Rao unfortunately expired. And so, from that they have grown, and tremendously. It's been a huge success story. I've joined the business around 92 for a few years before I went to get educated in US. Got my MBA from Emory University in Atlanta. Came back, and 98 I joined the business, and more or less I think immediately took over on the whole running the business. I myself have now close to completed 25 years in the business. People also know us more as Srinivasa Hatcheries, which has been these are the two companies that are there in the group. But Srinivasa Hatcheries, now we have restructured over the last 2-3 years, and now business is all in Srinivasa Farms. We have transferred all business into Srinivasa Farms. So we almost account for about nearly 20%, about 18% of the eggs in the country come from chicks from Srinivasa Farms. We are also in other businesses in which poultry feed, soya processing, broiler processing. We just started a new chicken processing plant. We are working on doing furthermore on processing, and then recently we have tied up with Highline International, which is the #1 poultry egg genetics company in the world. Has about 50% of the world's egg genetics market share, and so they have given us exclusive all India distribution rights. So we will be the only one dealing with that. So we are expanding in that. We are expanding we're expecting rapid expansion on that front. And as I said, we are building processing chicken and egg. So we want to build products that the future Indians will eat. Unlike how they've been eating so far. We believe the future will be very different, and we need to innovate, and because Indians that way always like exciting new stuff, and so we want to play that game. So as I said, today we are about 800 crores, not bad. We have done very well, and then we are one of the most profitable companies in the industry. Again, our debt levels, if you see, I don't think anybody has as low as we are. So we have taken a slightly different approach from most of the others in the industry, who have gone and leveraged themselves a lot and all that. We have not done that. But now when we look at it, when I'm saying that the Indian poultry industry will be about 8 lakh crores in 2040, then we said, then why should we be satisfied with having like a 0.8% market share like we have now? Why not have 10% of the market share in 2040? And that's what we are now preparing for, and we are getting ready for that. And we don't want to be in a commodity business. We don't want to fight with others, in creating a low value product. So we are working on adding higher value add products, something that where we are solving something for the consumer, like convenience, better quality, not just better quality, I'm saying close to the best that anybody else in the world can get. So making sure our consumers get that, and at a great value. So naturally, such high quality cannot come at the cheapest price, but then the point is it need not be at a Gucci price or something like that, right? So we are also looking at how do we do that? How do we bring exciting product, like if you're looking at people who are going to gyms and all that, then how can we give them egg-based products which are exciting but at the same time nutritious for them, and do not contain stuff that they don't need. So those are some of the things that we have just begun doing. I think in 2019 you will find Srinivasa Farms is coming up with some very, very innovative products, and which where we are probably making a housewife's life easy, and not just that, young couples or youngsters who are working, or students and all that they can have high quality food without taking too much trouble to prepare it. So that is our idea. That is what we want to grow and invest and create for the future. So I think from my point of view, we are at a perfect time, in a very exciting time. I think next 15 years I'm looking forward to the building this company and building new businesses within this company, and at the same time have the satisfaction of adding more nutritional security to our nation, providing more jobs, adding more wealth to the people, and making people more healthy. So that's the future as I see it, and I can't really complain. It's a fantastic future. So we are aligning with certain businesses now, and we have some products, but we are actually going to build the plants to make many of those products. See, typically in West again, what has happened is processed product have got a bad reputation, which is I think primarily a function of two things. Processing in West didn't start recently. It started hundreds of years back when they didn't have refrigeration, when they didn't have so it was primarily a way to have food available year round. You need to understand most of the West is not blessed with climate like India was, where we had food 365 days, but they didn't have that. And in those days, they got used to adding a lot of salt and all that to their food, which is what has made most of processing food bad. Now in India, we don't have to do that. We don't have to we don't eat as much salt as, a typical European does. So I think we have to innovate those products to our tastes and our way of doing it. And I think culturally we have had many ways of processing, which I think we don't do it so much. But I think we need to now kind of invent those and create those things. When we say processing, I'm not so interested in doing what others are doing, the West and all that. We don't want to copy them and ape them. We want to do our way of things, and also we want to teach the world our way of food, which I think has a tremendous opportunity. I think if you take Indian flavors to the West, they'll fall in love with it, and there's a tremendous opportunity for that. So that's the other thing we are looking at. In UK, Indian food is very popular. I think in joking they say the British food today is actually Indian. I mean, they say that I think some 40,000 restaurants in entire UK. But the number and what I was really surprised by was Japan. So Japan, I believe, has some 18,000 curry houses, which was some 1940 or something. Somebody introduced them to that. That when I looked at it, I said, wow, that shows the the potential for our food. But if you see in Japan, all 18,000 curry houses, it's like a sauce, and then they either add meat or whatever it is. But so they do it with curry. They all taste the same. So that's what I joke with them. I said, you got one flavor and you have 18,000. Now imagine if I bring the thousands of ways in India we do curries. That also shows the potential. I think in US, in most places, if you see, Indian food is growing rapidly. Primarily there's been some mostly innovation has been lacking to a large part. But I think it's picking up now, different ways of eating products. I think sausages with Indian flavors, and are you looking at ham, whatever it is, spicing up like in Indian way. Because I think I don't think anybody in the world knows how to play with spices like Indians. And we have thousands of ways of doing that. And I think that is what we need to essence capture that and spread now. As it stands, Indian food is also, it's complicated to make it. And that is why it has not picked up. Now I think the Chinese have done a brilliant job of simplifying how their food is cooked, and that's why if you see, there's almost no part in the world where you won't find a Chinese restaurant. I think that is something we also need to do. Primarily, I mean, our history or whatever we have been, the main thing is about selling chicks to farmers, majorly on the egg laying chicks. We have broiler also, but that's our market share in the country is almost insignificant in that. But on eggs, as I said, 18% of the country's eggs come from our chicks. So that's been our main this thing. Of course, today the feed and the soya business is much bigger than the breeding part, and that is expanding rapidly. Almost 30% annually it's growing, and we expect it to grow quite rapidly, even more over next few years. So these have been our mainstays till now. In future, it will be more processing. Of course, breeding we will be very strong. We intend to become leaders in the egg side in the country over the next 7-8 years, and we will expand on the chicken side, but not so much on the breeding, but more on the products. So all the leading genetic players in the world are in India. Now internationally, if you see, Aviagen, which owns Ross, Arbor Acres and Indian River, are the number one on the broiler side. Cobb is number 2. In India, of course, Cobb is number 1 right now, but Aviagen is growing rapidly. On egg side, the major breeders are Highline, Lohmann and Bowens. Babcock, which is number 1 in India right now, is almost non-existent outside India. It is, I wouldn't even say almost, it is non-existent outside India. I think we used to account for almost 1/3 of Babcock's sales in India, which we have now shifted to Highline. So it's a transitionary process. So we expect Highline also to, of course, because it's our bird, we expect it to dominate the country in the next 7-8 years. And Bowens is growing significantly, Lohmann also. So we have to wait and watch, because I think ultimately I don't see Babcock having a very big role in about, say, 10 years in India on the egg side. And I think, as I said, broilers, So, but there, almost all the major players in the world are there. But primarily, if you see on the world level, there are 2 or 3 groups, of genetics. Now there are only few companies left in genetics. 30-40 years back, there were some 20-30 breeds. Today they've come down to 3 or 4. Highline has 50, Lowman has 20, but they are both owned by the same company. And Aviagen, again, they took over the number 3 player, which is Hubbard. That they're in the process of taking over. All these are owned by the same family. So Aviagen and Highline and Lowman are owned by the same family. It's a German family. The other group is Cobb. Cobb is an independent in broilers owned by Tyson Foods, which is one of the biggest poultry company in the world. And there's one more Dutch family which owns Bowens and Babcock and all that on the layer side. They have 6 breeds, all of them put together. They have about 20% market share. We are now exclusive distributors in the country. So all distribution rights are with me, and so we have a long-term relationship with them now. So I have the responsibility to spread the breed in India. Right now we are not looking at taking anybody else as partners or aligning with somebody, but we'll see how that goes. I think India is a huge opportunity. We are number 3 in the world. I think a growth opportunity if you see in the next 15 years, the market is going to double, and then I have an opportunity to take from 18 to 25 to 30. So I think in next 10 years we can grow nearly 10 times. So I think that should be our first focus rather than any new markets. And I think as and when we are ready, we can look at it. We are definitely exploring Africa.